All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Big We here from MoneyNation.com, your home for everything Money Low. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be doing two things in this video. So if you guys do, this might be a long one. So if you guys enjoy, make sure you guys do like and subscribe right here to the channel. Make sure you guys ring that notification bell. Make sure you guys go join the NFL Bracket Challenge before tomorrow because this is the deadline. So make sure you guys go join that. The link is in the community. Make sure you guys go join the Discord. That's also in the community. So make sure you guys go check that out as well. Basically, today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reacting to the NFL awards because the awards did come out. And then I'm going to give NFL teams some made up awards. So I made up some awards. I think it'll be fun to do here on the channel, so I just did it anyway. So, so yeah, you guys will see what the awards are once we get into it. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. So yeah, like I said, make sure you guys do like, subscribe here to the channel. We're on our way to 90 subscribers, so I do appreciate everybody's support here on the channel. I am planning to go live, maybe tomorrow before the Super Bowl. Um, so yeah, or I might even go live today. I don't know. It just depends on what I'm doing. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop right into it. Let's start with the reaction for the awards. So Lamar Jackson won MVP for the Baltimore Ravens. I think he deserves it. I think he clearly deserves it. Can't go no wrong with there. Um, yeah, I don't think there was any surprises here. I mean, the Ravens have the best record in football. They've been playing with the best team in football. Yeah, there's no shocking here. There's no shocking here by Lamar Jackson, but you could name some other guys that probably should have won this award, but at the end of the day, not too bothered by that. All right, next up we got the offensive player of the year, which is Christian McCaffrey. Once again, not bad. I'm not mad about this. I think he deserves it. He's obviously the best running back in football this year. Basically, what he's been doing for San Francisco is absolutely incredible. And he says here he had more than 2,000 scrimmage yards, which is absolutely insane. But if you guys don't like Christian McCaffrey, I do like Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill probably should have won it as well. Tyreek Hill was definitely an honorable mention for me, but besides that, I do think they got this one right. For me, it's either between Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill, either one of those two. So I just think those guys stand out to me. Next, we got Defensive Player of the Year, and that was Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. I like it. I like it a lot. I like Myles Garrett a lot, but um, yeah, I think I mean I'm okay with it, but maybe you could recommend T.J. Watt. I thought he could have been an honorable mention, or he probably could have won the award too. So I'm cool with it either way, but I probably would have had T.J. Watt. I thought T.J. Watt was a little bit more impactful, and maybe Max Crosby. I think he also should be an honorable mention for this one, but seeing Myles Garrett up there is not bad. I mean, the Browns were the best defensive team in football, so I can't go no wrong about that. So it's all right. I like Myles Garrett. I think he deserves it. All right, next we have Offensive Rookie of the Year, and that was C.J. Stroud, and I think this one will be pretty quickly because it was either him or Puka. I mean, besides them two, nobody was even in contention. So it was just him and Puka, and then they of course had C.J. Stroud, which is understandable. But C.J. Stroud probably had one of the best rookie seasons we ever seen in NFL history. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, but yeah, so yeah, C.J. Stroud, congratulations, Offensive Rookie of the Year, clearly deserves it. But Puka Nacua is definitely a strong honorable mention there. All right, next we got Defensive Rookie of the Year. We got Will Anderson of the Houston Texans as well. Clearly deserves it. I thought he was actually pretty impactful this year. The Texans defense was actually way better than I thought it was going to be, and he does give a lot of credit because of that. So, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I got nothing about this. I think there was another obvious one here. So yeah, Will Anderson Jr. That was a good one. Here's my main problem. Coach of the Year, Devin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns as well. I mean, the Browns are winning a lot of awards here. Um, Listen, I get what they're coming from because the Browns have been dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. They worked themselves back into this one, so maybe you could make an argument that he could have won the award, but I do. I think the couple coaches were snubbed this one. Dan Campbell. I think for him, the Lions, what he did with the Lions. I'm pretty sure he does get an honorable mention for him. And D'Amico Ryan's definitely the Houston Texans. I think he definitely does get an honorable mention as well. Um, so yeah, I do think those two got snubbed. I think they probably would have had a better chance to win than Kevin Stefanski, but I'm not. I'm not too mad by it. All right, next we have a comeback player of the year, which is Joe Flacco of the Cleveland Browns. I think they got this one wrong, honestly. Listen, I like Joe Flacco a lot. I thought he played well throughout his stretch with the Browns, but my real winner with this award was Baker Mayfield. I thought Baker Mayfield should have won this award. But I'm once again, I could see it. I could see them seeing Joe Flacco. I'm not mad about any of these awards here, but in my opinion, I would have gave it to um, I would have gave it to Baker Mayfield in the box. I thought he better. Yeah, I think he made a better impact. Plus, the Browns got eliminated in the first round, where the Buccaneers kept going to the second round. So, I would like Baker there more, but I guess it's fine. All right, so I think that's it for the awards. Um, yeah, that's the awards. So now let's get into a little bit of my NFL team season rewards. So basically, what this is I'm going to be giving teams award how I thought they did this year. So, I don't know how to explain it right now. You guys will see in a minute. So you guys will see the screen up there, my NFL team season rewards. So we're just gonna hand out some awards to NFL teams that, but these are my own rules. So these are my own rewards. So let's see. All right, so kicking off first thing, we have the best team of the year. This one was pretty difficult here. I think I had a hard decision, but best team of the year who standing out to me was the Ravens. I thought the Ravens were the best team in the NFL this year. They had the best record of football. They looked dominant throughout the second half of the season. I mean, the first half of the season they looked good, but in the second half of the season they just really started pouring on. So yeah, I do think the Ravens win that one as well. Honorable mentions, like I said, every single award we will have some honorable mentions in there because I just think it's nice. First honorable mention was San Francisco. You could say that with their talent on their team, they could be one of the best teams in the NFL. So I do give San Francisco some mentions there. Next up, we have Dallas as well. I mean, you could see Dallas. I mean, I'm not talking about the postseason. I'm just talking about the regular season here. So if you guys are wondering that, I probably should have said that earlier, but I'm only talking about the regular season here. But Dallas, I think they look good as well. They look complete. They look dominant this year. So I can see them. And then the last team I have here was the Lions. I mean, you could say the Lions were the best team in the NFL this year. They looked sharp on offense. Their defense was cooking. So those are my three honorable mentions for best team of the year. But I do think the Ravens won that award. All right, next up we have the worst team of the year. Yeah, I think this one was pretty obvious. I think we all knew that the Panthers were the worst team in the NFL this year. I they just struggled. Like I said, there just wasn't. They're just never ready. They're just were never ready for success here for the season. So Panthers do get the worst team of the year award in my opinion. But the honorable mentions, one was the New England Patriots. They looked bad this year. They looked really bad. I don't think their franchise I've ever seen anything like this before. So definitely have to mention the Patriots, especially how they struggled this year. Two was second mention was Washington. Washington was close. Like I said, they got off to a good start. They started off the season 2-0, and then ever since then they lost. They only won two games since for the rest of the season. So yeah, Washington does get on my mention. They did not look good throughout that process either. That losing skid. Third was the Chargers. I mean, our third double mention was the Chargers. I mean, you could see it. I might get rid for this one, but listen, the Chargers only won 5 games. They haven't really looked good. They haven't looked good at all this year. So I think the Chargers do get a strong audible mention here, but I can see if you're complaining at me for that one. So yeah, I get it. Like I said, I did put a couple throughout this video. You will see a couple audible mentions here that I don't want to put in here, but I have to because people could say that. So yeah, so you're gonna be saying a lot of that in this one. Like I said, this one, the Cardinals, got my last honorable mention for me, or I think this is my last honorable mention. I don't know if I have another one, but Yeah, I think the Cardinals get an honorable mention as well. I think because they only won 4 games, but they looked competitive throughout its entire season. They really pushed them. They really pushed the good teams well. So that's the first one that I just feel pretty called wrong about putting the Cardinals there. But because they actually performed not that bad over the course of the season, but they were one of the worst teams in football. So all right, let's move on to the most underrated team of the year. Um, this was tough because there's a lot of underrated teams this year. There's a lot of teams that did better than I thought was gonna be this year. But my winner is my Los Angeles Rams. I thought we were the most underrated team this year. I'm gonna hand the award to my Los Angeles Rams. I thought we were very underrated this year, especially how we came into the season, including myself, coming into the season expecting absolutely nothing from this team, expecting this team to be dog shit, and then they made the playoffs. So the Rams definitely do get the most underrated team in the league for me this year. So my boys will at least win an award. So some honorable mentions here. One is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers just always finds a way. They always find a way. I think the Steelers get a strong honorable mention. And if you, I don't know how you don't I don't know how you don't uh mention the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like it just doesn't matter what talent they have on the roster. It just feels like they're gonna finish above 500 regardless. Like they could have like Arizona Cardinals roster and they'll still find a way about 9 wins. That team is impressive. I do consider them as underrated. Next up with the Packers. I really like what the Packers did this year. You know, they made the playoff push. They looked pretty good throughout the rest of this year. They look good to end the season. So I especially coming out once again like the Rams coming out of the team that didn't really expect a lot out of this year. Definitely shocked me away a little bit. So I do think they get honorable mention. Next up is the Buccaneers. Buccaneers do get an honorable mention for this one. They're kind of like the rest of these three I've been talking about. Didn't really expect a lot out of this year, and then this team all of a sudden is actually not that bad. They're actually very underrated. So I do think the Bucks go there. Next one was the Colts. Same story as the other three. You know, another team I just wasn't expecting out of, but this team fought. They fought hard. They looked good. But it's just unfortunate that they had one catch that would have made that would have sent them to the playoffs. But yeah, I do view the Colts as definitely underrated mention this year. And then the last one was definitely the Houston Texans. Can't go wrong, man. Can't go wrong with that team. That team is definitely very underrated now. This is probably their best season that they had in quite some time. So I'm actually kind of happy for Houston at that aspect. So yeah, the Houston does get the last honorable mention for this one. All right, let's go move on to the most overrated team of the year. There's a lot of ways you could go with this. There's a lot of ways that maybe like upsets. Maybe you didn't think that teams were actually going to do that bad as much as they did. And by the way, if you guys haven't checked that video out, make sure you guys go check it out. Where I ranked every single NFL team, how I thought they performed this year. So make sure you guys go check that out. I don't know the name of the video. I forgot about it, but anyway, the most overrated team of the year winner for me goes to the Eagles. You know, they looked so dominant for the regular season. They were kicking everybody's ass up in the moment, and ever since then, they've been on the big losing tear. They haven't really looked good throughout the losing tear. You go into the playoffs and then you lose in the first round. I think that's a I do think they a little bit seem overrated. I mean, I don't want to put the Eagles here, but I have to. Basically, the reason how they fell off so fast. Yeah, the Eagles get the most overrated team of the year for me. Honorable mentions. One was the Chargers. Chargers were I just the Chargers were supposed to be really good this year, and then they did not look good at all this year. Not even for a second. But I mean, they were healthy majority of the season too. It's just they just didn't do good. So I do call them overrated. Next one is the Jags. I don't want to put the Jags here, but I can see people maybe calling the Jags overrated the way how the season went for them. So I'm just gonna put them in here because I just think people might say I mean, for me, if it was my decision, I wouldn't put the Jags here. I would not call them overrated because I know what that team is. I know how good they are, but some people might put the Jags here, so I'm just gonna do it anyway. So just in case it makes you happy. Next one is the Giants. You could definitely call the Giants overrated after what happened this year. I mean, a team that just went to the playoffs the previous season didn't look horrible this year, but at least they finished out the season strong. So there's something positive you can at least say out of the Giants. Next one's the Falcons. I put the Falcons in here because a lot of people did pick them to win the division, and they did not perform as good as as the days. Just a lot of people just call him overrated after what happened this year, so I can definitely see it. And then the last team that we have here is the Patriots. You could call the Patriots overrated after what happened this year. I mean, this year, like I said, was not expecting to what we saw this year out of the franchise, but yeah, the Patriots get the last honorable mention for that. All right, next up we got the most surprising team of the year, and this was another hard one here. I know I kind of been back and forth with this one, but in my opinion, there's a lot of audible mentions here, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But the most surprising team of the year goes to the Houston Texans for me. Listen, this team was one of the worst teams in football like these last like 2 years, and then you walk into the season, you I don't know how, but you make it to the postseason. You make it to the postseason, and that was just incredible. Um, so yeah, the most surprising team of the year definitely goes to the Houston Texans. They definitely well deserved there. I thought they surprised me the most of anybody. Honorable mentions. First we got the Rams. Like I said, you could call it surprising after everybody expected them to do nothing this year. They made it to the playoffs, so my Rams we do get an honorable mention. For this year for the most surprising team in the league. I mean, you can't go no wrong there. The Rams looked pretty impressive. If you're asking me, I wasn't even impressed by the Rams fan as a Rams fan how we performed this year. Next one was the Browns. You could say the Browns were surprising. I mean, I know a couple people were already saying that the Browns were going to be a good team. So, you could say I'm gonna say the Browns were surprising. The only reason why I put them there is because I expect the Browns to do horrible this year, and they kind of surprised by making the playoffs and winning 11 games this year. So, I guess that was pretty surprising to me. Next up, we got the Packers. You know, they made the postseason as well. They played pretty well throughout the majority of the season. So, I gotta give them honorable mention for that. And then the last team I have on here was the Lions. I do think the Lions were the most. I mean, I bet everybody knew the Lions were going to be good, but did you really expect for them to be this good? I mean, I did, but my question is, did you guys think the Lions were going to be this good this year? So I do think that was a little bit surprising. So I'll just do them in here just in case you guys ever thought about that. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. So we can move on now to the most disappointing team of the year award. Um, the most disappointing team in the league. I don't know. I really didn't know about this one to the very end, and I didn't really know what to hand out this award until right now. But if you're asking me, the most disappointing team in the league this year was the New York Giants because, like I said, they went into the playoffs the previous year. They won a playoff game. They looked great. They come into the season and they look like absolutely shit. They look horrible. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of honorable mention to go here with this, but I do think the Giants win the most disappointing team of the year, and I'm pretty sure this shouldn't shock anybody. So yeah, I do think the Giants win the most disappointing team of the year. Honorable mentions: we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, you could say that, especially how the season went, and especially how they started off the season. They started the season like I think it was 8-2 or 8-3, and then ever since then they did never looked good, and they just never made the they never didn't even make the postseason, so you could say the Jacksonville Jaguars were pretty disappointing this year, and I agree with you if you do say that. Next up, we got the Chargers. I just feel like the Chargers are just keep getting, Chargers keep getting honorable mentions here, but it's the truth. You know, everybody expected good things from the Chargers. Everybody expected for them to compete with Kansas City in the division, but instead they basically fell out of it since like week 7. So I mean, no, ever since like I'll be a little bit more respectful. Ever since like week 13, but yeah, the Chargers they were just pretty disappointed about like the much as talent they have in their roster, they couldn't really capitalize nothing off of it. Next up we got the Bengals here. You could call the Bengals pretty disappointing. I mean, I know they were kind of banged up with injuries throughout the rest of that process, but based off what expectations we probably all had for the Bengals this year, really set the tone for them to be kind of disappointing. So I can see I just do them up. I just do them up in there just in case you ever guys thought about that. Next team is the Patriots. The Patriots, like yeah, they are disappointing. I mean, the way how this season went. I coming into this year, I knew the Patriots wasn't going to be good, but I didn't know that they're going to be this bad. So yeah, I definitely have to go with the Patriots there. And then I'm gonna go with the Denver Broncos because I think because a lot of people did expect the Denver Broncos to make the postseason and they didn't anyway. So it's an argument. You know, the Broncos actually did pretty good, better than I expected this year. But But overall, I just think they were kind of disappointing to some people out there. So I just do them in there. All right, let's move on here. Next up, we have the. All right, so we're gonna have a little bit of fun here. So we're starting off with the offensive team of the year. This means we're looking at teams who I thought been the most explosive on offense this year. Um, my winner for the best offensive team of the year goes to the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, they look incredible this year, and they're basically good on every single stat line. You have quarterback, running backs good. You have wide receivers. They're throwing up touchdowns almost like every single week. This Dolphins offense was just really good. It was this dominant. This offense was just dominant. They look like they could go through anybody. So I think the Dolphins win that award, but I can see people disagree with me with here, but I'm going with the Dolphins. But honorable mentions real quick. One was San Francisco. Like I said, they have too many weapons on that offensive end, so they could basically go by anybody there. So San Francisco does get an honorable mention. They just have a lot of weapons out there, so I can definitely see you guys saying that San Francisco was the best offensive team in football. But I'm gonna go with the Dolphins on this one. Next up, we got the Lions. The Lions do get an honorable mention. They were so explosive this year. They were moving the football like crazy. They have so many weapons, so many young studs out there for the Lions who really made a big impact with their team. So I'm definitely gonna go over there for the honorable mention. Next up with the Bills. I mean, the Bills. They didn't look too good the first half of the season, but I decided to have them an honorable mention because how they performed in the second half of the season, and how I thought their offense was more explosive during the second half of the season. So they got honorable mention from me. Fourth team that we got here was the Dallas Cowboys. Just throughout the season, I just thought they looked dominant offensively. They were swinging by teams, blowing out a lot of teams this year, and a big part of that has to do with their offense. So, being so consistent. So I do have to recognize that. Last thing we have here was the Ravens. The Ravens, like I said, they didn't really pick it up in the first half of the season. I mean, they were still good, but they haven't picked it up in the second half. They just went blitz out. They just completely spanked the shit out of teams. Their offense looked explosive while doing that. So definitely have the honorable mention them for this one. But so there you have it. Best offensive team of the year goes to Miami, but those honorable mentions can be um, a factor there. All right, next up we have the best defensive team of the year. There's a lot of good damn defensive teams this year. Let's be honest, there's actually like a full list full of good defensive teams this year in NFL. But for the winner for this one, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. I thought the Browns were the most impactful defensively. I mean, this team was ranked number one in all of defense this year in football until the playoffs. But we're not talking about the playoffs. We're only talking about the regular season. So I thought the Browns looked the best defensively, so we're just gonna put them over there with the best defensive team of the year. Honorable mentions. One thing with the Jets, I have to honorable mention the Jets because basically without their defense performing so good, this team wasn't able to do shit because their offense was that bad. So, the Jets defense definitely took huge responsibilities for their offense being so bad. So, and even with their Jets defense, even with if their defense wasn't as good, then the Jets would have done absolutely nothing this year. So, gotta recognize them. Second team I want to recognize was the Ravens. Ravens do get honorable mention for me how good they were defensively throughout the second half of the season. They shut out a lot of. Nah, I'm not going to say shut out, but they were close to shutting out a couple good teams. So gotta give the Ravens an honorable mention there. Third team I want to recognize is the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defense was all right in the first half of the season, but like I said, they really picked it up in the second half of the season. They looked pretty good defensively. I wasn't expecting the Chiefs to really be a good defensive team this year, but it turns out that they were. So Chiefs do got honorable mention. Next team we got here is Dallas. Got to honor mention Dallas. Dallas was a monster defensively into the playoffs. So gotta honorable mention them. But I thought Dallas looked great defensively. Uh, so yeah, we have a lot of honorable mentions here. 15 one I want to mention is the Miami Dolphins. Um, just the impact that they had this year defensively. Miami actually has a really good defensive team. I mean, just look at their defense. They actually had a good defense this year. I want to mention them. All right, the last team, of course, we have to mention is the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, can't go nothing wrong with this. I mean, San Francisco, they like I said, they just have talent all around the board. Not just that their defense is as good as well. All right, let's move on to the best game of the year. And as you can see, you guys already have the scores down there. So when we get to talk about it, we get to talk about it. But the best game of the year, and this was actually really close, but the best game of the year goes to the Philadelphia Eagles when they beat the Buffalo Bills 34-31. That game was terrific. That was absolutely terrific. It was definitely the best game of the year to me. So I do think the Eagles do win that award. Um, the Eagles versus Bills, but I mean I could have put both teams up here, but I decided to go with one team. I just basically put the winner of each award. So honorable mentions. One team, you got the Lions over here. I gave them the honorable mention. They won 41-38 over the Chargers. And I don't know what week it was. You might have to go back and watch that game, but I thought that game was really good. You saw a lot of offense in that game. Lions defense came through what he needed to, but that was also a really good game. I think they got an honorable mention for me. Second honorable mention was the Bengals beating the Jaguars 34-31 as well. Same scores as the Eagles and Bills game. I just thought that game had a lot of offense, had like a lot of playoff explanations on there. Like both teams like go home or advance on or go home. So I definitely do think they got an honorable mention. And then the third honorable mention was the Cleveland Browns beating the Colts 39-38 throughout the game. We saw a lot of good defensive plays. Offense was moving on both sides, which was definitely a fun game for all of us to watch. So like I said, for these awards, which is the next three, we're only gonna have three honorable mentions on this one because I'm not looking at every single game and seeing what they got. So, all right, let's move on to the worst game of the year. Yeah, I do think this one's pretty obvious. If you guys have been watching the NFL, I think everybody's going to agree with me here. The worst game of the year goes to the Minnesota Vikings when they won 3-0 against the Raiders. I mean, if that was not the worst game of the year, I don't know what was because that game was just that game was just brutal. Just absolutely brutal. That game might be the worst game of NFL history. I mean, that was bad. So let's go through my three honorable mentions here. Some honorable mentions. Number one honorable mention was the Panthers when they won 9-7 against the Falcons. Yeah, that was a complete shit show performance out of both teams. I mean, what we're talking about is a shit show. This is the captain of shit show. I mean, this was that was humiliating. I mean, it really was. Second honorable mention was the Chargers. Yes, that's right. The Chargers are back. They're getting mentioned again. But this time when they beat the Patriots at New England 6-0 on a snow. I mean, I think it was snowing at that time, so you can't really blame them for it. But yeah, at the end of the day, this game was gross. It was absolutely horrible. And I don't think I even watched the game at that point, which luckily I didn't. All right, and the third team I want to give honorable mention to was the Buccaneers. They only won 9-0 against the Panthers, so I guess you could say that's pretty bad. I mean, that was one. These three were four one of the lowest games of the season this year. So yeah, the game was pretty rough from both sides. So I'd also do give the Bucks versus the Panthers one of the worst games of the year. But the Vikings won an award. They won 3-0 against the Raiders. Um, so yeah, so that's it. All right, let's. This is probably my best one. These last two awards are probably one of my better one of the best ones here. Next up, we got the ass beating of the year. I love this one, man. I love these two, and you guys will like the one after this. You guys will like the last one. I saved the best for last, but this is next back to last. The ass beating of the year. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of ass beatings this year. There was, and I'm like I said, I'm not going to capitalize every single game. But I thought the ass beating of the year winner goes to Miami. I think Miami wins their second award here on this video for me. Miami won this award with the 30-20 win over the Broncos. I mean, they just completely beat the shit out of them to never they couldn't even breathe anymore. So yeah, I do think that one was pretty obvious. I do think Miami does win that award. 70-20 of the Broncos. Honorable mentions, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. They actually beat up on the Chargers pretty well. They won 63-21. Um, yeah, that game was also an ass beating. I'm pretty sure that game was also on Thursday night, which was even more humiliating for the Chargers. But so yeah, definitely the Raiders get honorable mention for the blowout win over the Chargers. Next honorable mention, we have the Cowboys. Cowboys completely smoked the Giants at the Giants in Week 1. They beat them 40-0. Which is a game that I have to auto mention because come on, it's a 40-point game. I mean, plus I think I actually picked the Giants to win the game, and I look like an ass doing that. So I do have to mention the Cowboys for that. And then the last honorable mention was the Buffalo Bills. They beat the Commanders pretty badly, 37-7. Um, yeah, that game was just it was bad. It was really really bad. But I will tell you one game I was great to put on here, and that was the 49ers beating the Steelers 30-27. But the Bills game was more um, the San Francisco beat they won by 27. The Bills won by 30. So I just put them up in there. But yeah, so there you have it. There are your ass beatings of the year. And then last but not least, let's get through it. I might have to explain what the rules here, but we have the master lock of the year. So basically what the master lock is we are taking a look at teams that you have a lot of questions about this year. The things that bothered you the most. So these are my NFL teams that really bothered me the most this year. So let me know down in the comments what you would master lock from this year. But for the winner for me, the main team I want to master lock is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really do want to master lock them, and I do think they win an award for me. The Jags, like I said, they came out with a strong start. They looked shaky. They've been dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. So yeah, I definitely have to master lock the Jags because I thought they had the most expectations out of me this year. I mean, they didn't even get close to. I mean, they got close, but they didn't execute them. So I definitely have to. So my main master lock is the Jacksonville Jaguars, but we actually do have a lot of honorable mentions for this one. So don't be surprised if your team isn't on here. All right, so the first one is the Chargers. Yes, the Chargers are back. We do have to master lock the Chargers. Because like I said, they have so many weapons on this team, and they're not using it properly. They're just losing games all of a sudden. So yeah, I do think the Chargers get master locked here. So don't be surprised if the Chargers don't get master locked. Next team on the master lock is the Patriots because, like I said earlier in this video, I don't think the Patriots ever had this bad of a season as they ever had in their franchise history, especially under Bill Belichick when he got fired. So yeah, definitely have to master lock the Patriots for that. Next team we got was the Philadelphia Eagles. Definitely have to master lock them after what their season went, after their downfall, after they looked so dominant, like the unstoppable force. They looked so good, but now I have to master lock them because they've been on a huge losing tear, and then all of a sudden know they lost in the first round of the playoffs. But this is just a regular season, so yeah, definitely have to master lock the Eagles. Basically, how the season went. Next team I want to master lock is the Giants. I mean, I think this one's pretty simple at this point. Definitely got to master lock the Giants after what happened this year and last year. So, especially if you're a Giants fan, you should definitely be frustrated after what happened this year. But so yeah, I definitely want to master lock the New York Giants. Next team I want to master lock is the Broncos because I look at. I mean, like I say, it's it's all right. I mean, I could see myself being wrong. I can see myself getting some hate for this, but yeah, but I do want to master lock the Broncos, but just probably because I thought everybody had this team in the postseason, and they didn't make the postseason. So yeah, I'm gonna master lock the Broncos for that reason. Last team I want to master lock here is the Chiefs because they have Taylor Swift. They got Taylor Swift. That's the only reason why I'm master locking the Chiefs, and I'll probably always will master lock the Chiefs because they got Taylor Swift. I mean, that's the only reason why I got so yeah. The Chiefs will be the last team to get master locked, but I'm pretty. But let me know in the comments below what team that you would master lock, for this season. But all right, and without further ado, guys, that is finally going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys do like, subscribe right here to the channel. And yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and hop out of here so you guys can watch it on time. This is Big B here, sign off for Nation, MoneyLineNation.com. Peace out. We'll see you guys in the next one.